Hi, can you hear me? All right, let's go. So, in September 2018, Apple released something that was mind blowing enough to sell over 77.4 million copies. Someone may ask, what's that? Well, I'm about to tell you today, so Charlie. Sit through us to walk through the journey of iPhone XR, or should I say the 10R as the hit from us. So, the iPhone XR, or should I say the 10R, was the anniversary edition of the iPhone series, which is a journey that started, I think, let's say back in 2007, right? So to mark their 10th anniversary, Apple had to skip the iPhone 9 series and then jump straight to iPhone 10 series. We saw great iPhones like the X, XR, XS, and XS Max. And then later, the legendary big brother iPhone 10R or the XR joined the line. And that phone did pretty well because as of quarter 3 of 2019, iPhone XR had already sold about 27 million copies, which was outrageous at the moment and was Apple's best-selling iPhone at that time. And to date, as of 2025, early 2025, the phone has sold a good amount of about 78 million copies, which is mind-blowing. But we are in 2025 and people are still buying iPhone XR. So I think today is the right time we delve into if this phone is still valid and tech savvy, like good for tech savvy people like us in 2025. So Charlie, let's go in. So Apple marketed the iPhone XR or the 10R as their budget-friendly phone, just like the SE series that they used to drop, and for now they've stopped to replace with the 16E. But it was marketed as a budget phone. And looking at the core specs too, it wasn't that bad. And at the time it was released, I would say it was a gold mine because the iPhone 10R or the XR, I never even keep confusing the two. It's the same thing. So the iPhone XR at the time had a 2942 milliampere hour battery. It also had a single rear camera, which was a big disadvantage looking at the X. Even the X having one camera and a telephoto lens. But even though it was a downgrade, it was still debatable because at least it was a budget phone, even though it was bigger than the main phone of the lineup, which was the X. But it had a 12 megapixel rear camera and then a 7 megapixel front-facing camera for selfie and fun documentaries and stuff. So it was a good trade. Also, unlike the current flagship phones of Apple and the latest releases, even these three are all iPhone chargers, but there's something unique about each of them, and I think we gotta talk about this. But before we delve into that, let's take this out because it's a vintage Apple product. Like, this product brings a lot of nostalgia, but let's take that out and let's talk about these two popular iPhone chargers and then what they mean for us users and what they all have to offer. So Charlie, if you're ready for this, let's delve in. So for these two charger variants, they all might look different, but there's something very similar about them, and that's their powertrain. Now, these two are both 20-watt iPhone chargers. Some are ascribed 35 watts, but it doesn't matter because what the iPhone needs to charge as minimum is a 20-watt charger. But there's something unique about these two chargers that makes people think one is better than the other or otherwise, and I'm here to break that down. Now, this is an iPhone charger. Apple made this, so like it's not like they don't know anything about it. And this is also a 25-watt charger, a Type-C brick. Now, most of you keep calling this part of the charger head, but peg you head means something different in some different ways. So just call it a charging brick or charging adapter. And this is the American version of the charging brick, or should I say. So when it comes to design and compatibility, I would say this is for the American focused market, and it works well in that market because most of the sockets in the American topography are able to adapt to this easily. So it makes it worth the buy, and then it's also slimmer than the other variants. So it's easy to carry around and pack into backpacks and stuff. And moving on from this, we'll go to this, the King of Kings. Now, this is also another charging brick made by Apple, and this is also another 20-watt charging brick, and this one specifically is made for the UK market. So you can see their kind of clunky, chunky design. Yeah, so this is really heavier than the previous, which is the slimmer one, and then this is, should I say, a little bulky, but it comes with this cool mechanical way of packing it that I just really enjoy. And there's no real big trade-off from this other one between the two, apart from the size and then maybe the weight. So this is made for the UK market, and any markets elsewhere, and then this is made specifically for the American market. One disadvantage of this one made for the American market is that when you live outside the US, then it means you need to get an extra adapter for this that will be able to convert it from this into this, and that is some way somehow a little bit of hassle. So I will go for this as the winner for design and compatibility. Now moving on, one question people also ask most of the time, and this is a question I've gotten most of the time as a tech reviewer, is which of them charges faster? And looking at it, they look very different, that you think one is better than one when it comes to charging speed, but don't be fooled by the appearance. They're all 20-watt break chargers, and they can charge your iPhone or probably any phone maybe from 0 to 50% within a minimum of 30 minutes. So they all have the same charging speed. No one weighs anyone. Like, it's a tie for them when it comes to speed. So yeah, that's the trade-off. That's the trade-in rather. The next thing we are supposed to look at about these two is safety and then their quality. Now, when it comes to build quality, most people complain that this one gets spots easily, which I don't totally subscribe to, because if I had the opportunity to choose any of these two chargers based on safety and performance, I would go for this one rather, because the UK brick has a built-in fuse which helps to protect your devices more, and then it also has this third plug which is the grounding plug. But for the American variant, you can see it only has the earth and then the positive and negative. Let's just put this thing. This is safer because it has the fuse in there and then the third leg, which makes it more safer as an option when you are choosing a charger. Moving on from there, we go to compatibility and then convenience. Now, as someone who lives in Ghana, travels around other countries, UK, someone who travels a lot between countries, I think this will be a better option because it has a universal plug with the 3 legs standing. But this particular variant makes the work a little difficult because some countries do not have a widespread of this kind of plugs for you to connect to. So it makes it a little difficult because it's not just a 2 plug, but it's a flat 2 plug. So it's a little maybe of a hassle if you're outside the US for you to use it. So I think that's the main difference between the two of them when it comes to compatibility. So moving on to our final point, we'll talk about the real world experience. And with this, let me be honest here. The 2-pin US one is a hell for me. So I prefer the UK brick because it's portable, and I kind of find it interesting to use because this one, when you put it in the socket, it fits in totally, and then you don't have to go through any hassles when you're moving, because I'm someone who uses my phone a lot of times while it's on charge, even though that's not a safe thing to do, but I'm compelled to use my phone while it's on charge, and this comes in handy. But when you're using this and maybe you have a situation where you're supposed to use your phone while on charge, bro, forget. You might lose your temper because any small movement, the charger shifts out of its place and your phone disconnects, which is very much of a heartbreak to realize. So in all, I personally use the UK brick, and I will recommend you also try it because it's a better option than this. With all the comparisons made so far, I think I have to pull out my scorecard and let's check. Yes. When it comes to portability, the US charger wins. When it comes to safety, because of the inbuilt fuse and then the grounding cable, the UK is the best option. When it comes to socket fit, that's what I told you just right now, that the UK is the best fit. When it comes to charging speed, they're all the same thing. It's just a matter of preference and then, fashion. Because right now, electronics are also fashion. So, yeah. And then when it comes to daily usability, the UK still wins because of its extra advantage of a fuse and then the grounding cable. I keep forgetting it, but yeah. So I think that's basically it. So if you're going out there to buy an iPhone charger or a charging brick for any device at all, and you're picking any of these two, just remember, very recommended I choose the UK brick because it's a safer option. Alright, so that's it for the charging bricks. And if you've watched the video this far, then I believe you're an iPhone user. So Charlie, go check out my recent review about the iPhone XR, which should be, let me guess it right, somewhere here. So we'll go watch it and we'll go meet in that video. I just bought this $30 JBL knockoff online, and I think it costs look giving because the packaging alone, we need to go check out what's inside. So guys, let's go check out what a JBL knockoff has to offer under $30. Let's dive in. So here's the product. If you care to see the packaging, it feels a little premium though. Okay, it's actually giving though. It's giving the kind of black kind of vibe around it. Kind of nice. Are you ready? Wow, I think it has a kind of a pouch, or should I say mini bag to it, just like the original does. Okay, I haven't even seen the original before, but I'm already okay with this, and a little user manual. And I think this is the real company that does the product wireless. It did a pretty good job copying JBL, and they didn't really slack at it. So let's check the main product that's in here. 3, 2, 1, and your JBL is here. So the name of the product is what? JBL Tune 960, JBL by Harman, which active noise cancelling, which I don't believe. Wow, the matte black finish. First red flag, listen music bass. JBL no write something like this on their packaging, but it's quite a nice product and I think I love it. I love this. So let's go check out the sound quality. Okay, and it has a metal overhead. This, oh wow, this will be durable. For it to have a metal and feel this strong, this will be very durable. So it's worth the $30 I bought it for. I didn't throw away cash. I didn't waste my money on stupid shit. Let's go check it out. Let's go. So I think this has a quite nice finishing. The metal parts, which is the part I love the most. And you know, it's not that as fragile as most of the JBL copycats or clones we see in town. And come to think of it, the matte black finish on this thing alone is like high quality. Like just look at it. It feels premium, even though this listening music bass is not something JBL would do. So let's just assume they know nothing about this. It's just a knockoff. But aside that, it shows very premium. Like Charlie, just for $30 and I got this. So imagine the more expensive knockoffs, how much they will, like how much quality they have to offer. And I think it's time we turn it on and check the sound quality. Is it even coming on? Okay, power on. So let's check the sound quality on this thing. My head is quite big, so I need to extend it. And so this is left. Okay. See, that's not bad. Wow. Wow, you can barely hear any noise from outside because it has enough foam to go around, so you can barely hear any noise from outside. And because of that, it gives room for the sound to actually, you know, gives its, should I say, crisp kind of depth feeling for you. And I think this is nice. Maybe you should also hear this. I don't know if you can hear it, but Charlie, can you hear? Wow. So from the finishing, the matte black kind of finishing, the metal and everything except for this and the sound quality I've heard from this, and I think it's a cool 8/10 for it. Even though I've not used the real or the original JBL before to know the kind of quality it provides, we'll get there. But I think this is an 8/10 for whoever did this. It's kind of cool. So challenge, subscribe to this channel if you like this video so far, and we will vibe in the next one. See you. In Africa today, there is a phone company that sells more phones than even Samsung and Apple, yet is widely unknown in the West. And what's even strange is that this company originates from China. Wait, let me take you on this ride. So this company I'm about to talk about is called Transsion Holdings. Now, Transsion was founded around 2006 in Hong Kong, China by Mr. Zhu Zhaotian. Let's just call him Mr. George Zhu for now, because that's what the internet knows him by. So in 2006, Mr. George Zhu founded the company Techno Telecommunications, which later was renamed to Transsion Holdings and now rules the continent of Africa when it comes to possession of the mobile phone market. Let's dive deep into how Transsion conquered the African markets. You see, the key ingredients for Transsion Holdings' conquest of the African phone market or telecommunication market as it stands now traces back to one major thing, and that is the ignorance of Africa by the Western phone brand. So in the early ages of mobile phones, dominance of the market and its eruptions on the market taking over from the telephones and landlines, Western brands like Apple and Samsung were the pioneers and then the key leaders of the market at that time, even though they were larger companies within those markets years of 2006. Like we had Motorola on the market, we had Nokia on the market. But you see, in today's world, when you mention the mobile phone or the cell phone market, it's Apple and Samsung that are championing the cause. So let's focus on them. So in 2006, when Transsion Holdings was first launched, the African phone market was ignored by Apple, Samsung, and other dominant key players in the market at that time for some major reason. Number one was because of the low income of the continent. In the African continent, let's not beat around the bush. Most countries on the continent are still developing countries. In fact, almost more than half of the continent is still a developing economy trying to find its feet. Most economies on the continent are low-income earning economies, making it difficult for them to adjust to goods with prices as same as people in the US market. Because let's take it into example. Someone in the US or UK might be earning
$11 per hour, which to them is minimal. But someone in some countries in Africa will be earning that same $11 within a month or weeks, which when you compare and contrast, the price of an average iPhone is around $400. So imagine how long it would take for someone in the African continent to save to buy that phone. And aside the low income, another factor that played a key role in the African being ignored is our infrastructure. Because let's be in those ages, Africa had poor infrastructure development towards adapting to the modern communication that was rising. So even though we had some level of infrastructure, it wasn't even enough to support the landline communication network, more or less come to the mobile network. And for these reasons, companies like Apple, Samsung, Motorola, Nokia weren't targeting the African market in their ads and their product launches, but rather they focused on the Western market. And Transion Communication or Transion Holdings saw a major gap on the continent that needed to be filled. So they took their chances, and in 2008, Transion Holdings officially entered the African market with feature phones, which in some parts of Africa are called a keypad, and in Ghana and some parts of the West African sub-region, we also call it Yam, due to some advertisements that went viral by Airtel Tigo some years back. You see, after years of staying on the market, the African market with feature phones, which we still can call a keypad, Transion has studied from 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13. They've studied the market enough, and they've seen that they have grown a kind of cult fan base in the African market, just like brands such as Samsung and Apple were enjoying in the Western market. So decided to go big in 2014, and here they say 2024. So in 2014, Transion decided to go big on the African market. When I say big, I mean in 2014, they launched their first series of fully fledged smartphones onto the African market under their brands that they used to operate in the market. Now, since 2008 that they've been in the market, they've been able to study the market trends and also analyze the key problems that have held brands like Apple and Samsung from influxing the African market. And they've analyzed it very much that they've trained the algorithm to adapt to the African market. Some of these key things that made this easy for them is they created phones with cameras that better adapted to darker skinned people, unlike Apple and Samsung that focus on the Western market. So they didn't optimize their camera system to adapt to our darker skins, as you can see in these parts of the world. They also went the extra mile of producing phones that have batteries that would last maybe some of their batteries lasted 24 hours according to their ads and campaign. And even from user testimonials, some users even said based on their daily usage of their phone, their batteries lasted 3 days. Some even are able to confirm that their batteries have lasted a week and above. But I haven't had that experience, so I can't say some for myself, but that's what the market says. And with those strategies, it's catapulted their reputation on the continent immediately after they launched their series of smartphones on the continent. Transion Holdings wasn't going to end their marketing strategies over there, so they took it a notch further by introducing something that was never done on the continent. You see, in these ages, Apple still to today do not have physical shops in Africa because they are not targeting third world economies as their major target audience. I don't know if it's an official thing from Apple or it's just a notion that they are not going to this market in, but I live in Ghana and I can tell you for a fact, you will not find any Apple official flagship store in my country to buy an Apple product. So if you want to buy products from Apple, you will need to order it online. One, go to the countries like US or the UK to buy it yourself, or at best you will just have to depend on the second-hand market for goods from those companies, and that's very frustrating, but we just have to deal with it. And as for Samsung, after they seen the influx and dominance of companies like Transion on the continent, they devised a strategy to approach the market and embrace it. So as I'm speaking to you now in 2026, Samsung has grown a fan base and has a couple of flagship stores on the continent that are operating for them successfully. Bro, so at this point, you've heard me mention Transion several times, and you are losing the points of this conversation. The thing is, when Transion Holdings decided to enter the African market, they did it strategically. So they first in 2008, they entered the market with feature phones, and then after studying the market for a while, in 2014, they launched their smartphone series. But you see, when they were coming to the market, the African market, Transion Holdings decided to go in a strategic marketing way to conquer the market. So what did they do? Transion launched 3 major brands onto the market. The first brand they came in with was Itel. Now, Itel was Transion's way of giving the African market a feel into the smartphone world without having to pay too much. So Itel was the flagship entry-level brand of the Transsion family for the African market. Then, moving on a notch higher from Itel, they brought in Infinix. Now, Infinix, which would sound like Infinity, the car brand, but no. Infinix was the middle ground brand or telecommunication brand by Transsion. We targeted the youth, and some way, somehow, it was the middle tier NS who were like the target audience for that brand. And also, as Infinix continued to grow, it has now attracted a kind of a cult in the gaming society, whereby gamers are really loving Infinix phones in the Transsion lineup than any other brand. And to top it all out and to crown the whole conversation, they have Tecno, which is their kind of premium tier of the Transsion family. So when you are entering as a beginner, you have the Itel, and then when you want to go a little higher, you have Infinix. And to top it all out, or to fill the whole premium vibe of the Transsion family, you have Tecno at the top. And since 2014, they've brought these smartphone lineups into the market. They have had hit after hit of legendary releases, and even though Samsung has also been trying to catch up in the market, Transsion has solidified its place on the African continent as the leading manufacturer and supplier of phones, and it holds the largest amount of phones being used on the continent, from the feature phones to the smartphone world, and that has been very impressive. But they are even going a little bit further than just smartphones. Transsion have built a very strategic approach to marketing that have worked for them very well in Africa, and they are looking at duplicating that across the globe. You see, when they came to Africa, their plan was steady, strategize, market, and dominate, and it worked perfectly for their brand, both from the Itel side, Infinix side, and the Tecno side. So what they are doing now is to spread their wings across other continents other than Africa. So right now, Transsion is doing very well in Southeast Asia. They are doing well. They are now officially trying to market their goods proper in their home market, which is China. And also, Transsion has capitalized on the Latin American markets, shipping their goods to that side of the world. And from there, we talk about some challenges they've been facing so far on the African continent, which is their biggest market. And their number one challenge so far has been the influx of other phone brands on the continent. You see, as Transsion came onto the market and have garnered some level of success on the continent, other phone brands from the western side and even its home country, China, looked at their strategies into the market and decided to use the same playbook to come and compete against them. And number one of these companies is Xiaomi. Now, Xiaomi has also moved into the African market with aggression and has built a kind of following on the continent. Vivo is doing the same. Samsung, as I told you earlier, have started doubling up on their effort to capture the market. And Apple is still being a little reluctant, but who knows, maybe in a few years' time, Apple might venture into having flagship stores on the continent and doing more to capture the market on the continent, because, hey, a lot of us use Apple products. And even me right now, I'm recording with an Apple product. So who knows what's next for us in Africa. Many marketers on the continent of Africa are deeming Transsion as the king of African phones. And this is quite a huge title, but they really deserve it, because they didn't just come to the market to, sell their product, but they came to the market to evolve the African market. And even moving further from mobile brands that they have, Tecno, Itel, and Infinix, one key thing that makes Transsion phones attractive to buyers is because they care so much about their customers. And when I'm saying this, I really mean this, because just a year after Transsion entered the African market, they launched their after-sales service brand, which is CalCare or CallCare. I don't know how they pronounce it, but this company was targeted as helping customers fix problems that may arise with any phones bought from the Transsion lineup of brand, be it Itel, Tecno, Infinix, and whatnot. So they did their job very well with this marketing strategy, and since 2009, CalCare has been one of the largest so far, if not the largest on the continent when it comes to after-sales service. And you see, from my personal experience, I bought a smartwatch from the Transsion family, a Tecno smartwatch. And within few days of using the watch, I realized the watch was misbehaving. So about a month after purchase, I returned it. And surprisingly, that was when I got to realize the smartwatch has a 12 plus 1, that's 13 months warranty on it. And just after 3 days I left it behind because I needed to go somewhere. And just after 3 days, I received a call from the head office of the CalCare branch that I submitted the phone to that should come for it. And when I went, because they realized repairing the smartwatch might actually not give me the experience I was hoping to get, they just straight up replaced it with a brand new fresh unboxed watch. And that is something you won't expect from all the other ones. But hey, Transsion just does it very well. Moving away from just the after-sales service brand that they've released, which is CowCare, in the year 2013, just to predate the release of their smartphone series in Africa, Transsion launched Oraimo in Nigeria. Now, Oraimo is a brand almost nobody will imagine is owned by Transsion. But Oraimo is their accessories department of Transsion. Even though there are brands like Tecno, Infinix, and Itel, Tecno and Itel in particular are big when it comes to accessories like smartwatches, earbuds, and other smart accessories like power banks and whatnot. Transsion decided to give another whole feel of the family by launching Oraimo onto the market in 2013. And since their introduction into the market, I kid you not, Oraimo is so far, in my opinion, the best accessory brand for an African on the continent. Well, I may say I have not personally bought their gadget before, but what I've heard on the internet and word out there, they have solid gadgets out there for the African market. And you see, their gadgets, one key thing about Transsion is their gadgets or their appliances are not overpriced as some rivals on the market. And to crown it all up in their diversification portfolio, Transsion in the year 2015, Transsion launched their home appliance brand Cynix. Now, we all know Itel has TVs and other home appliances that they produce. Tecno also have TVs, laptops, just like Itel, and Infinix is not that much loud on those gadgets in what I know so far. But in 2015, Transsion decided to give another whole feel of their branding to the African market by launching Cynix. Now, Cynix or Cynix or whatever they call it, is a home appliance brand that focuses on producing TVs, fridges, and just any home appliance at all that you can think of from the Transsion family to their users. That's the one company that does not think mostly about money, but not just about the money they are making from the continent, but they've built an ecosystem around the African market that really works well for them. And I must say, Africa does not appreciate it. Even though I know we purchase the appliances, but I feel like Africa is not giving them the heroic feeling that much, because hey, this is a company that have made the African market attractive to other markets who before were ignorant of the African market, but now they are flooding in on the continent to market their products onto the market. So Chade, personally in 2026, I'm wishing to get my hands on one of the Transsion flagship devices, especially from the Tecno and Itel family. But hey, let's just hope and pray someone from the company sees this video and finds it worthy of rewarding. So Charlie, we will vibe in the next one. But before you go, you might want to check this video I did about the worth of buying an iPhone XR in 2026. We should be somewhere here or here. So go check it out. And that's it. Subscribe. What if I told you your $1,000 smartphone is the worst financial decision you could ever make? For years, the tech industry has been selling us one simple story: expensive is better. But is it? Every September, a tidal wave of hype hits us from the newest Ultra or Pro phone, making us feel like we need to upgrade. But today, we are calling out the great flagship lie. The truth is, the gap between a $1,200 phone and the $500 phone has gotten so small that for the average person, the difference is practically invisible from day to day. And most people are paying a massive premium for features they will probably never even touch. So, one may ask, what changed to make cheap phones so good? First, the tech trickle down is happening very fast than we think. So the amazing cameras and super fast charging from flagship phones 2 years ago are now the standard in these phones, meaning they are cutting the fluff and not the fundamentals. Second is software. You see, Android have become incredibly efficient enough that it allows devices with less powerful hardware to run smoothly without any headaches. But the biggest factor, especially for us in Africa, is the rise of regional champions. Companies like Infinix, Itel, and Tecno has dominated and redefined our market. They understand our need for massive batteries to cover for power outages, dual SIM to support our network system, and an aggressive pricing system that makes sense for our pockets. Interestingly, they've tuned their camera for the darker skin, making our photos look more natural and very flattering.
So it's kind of like they know what we need and they deliver that without any flagship price tag. Now let's be real. Too good doesn't mean perfect. Flagship phones still have their place, but the real question is, are they actually worth 2 or even sometimes 3 times the price for your pocket? If you're rendering a 4K video on your phone, or you are a hardcore gamer that needs to run intensive games like Genshin Impact without a single frame draw, then that extra power and better cooling in a flagship device will really make a difference for you. But for most of us, our phones are for TikTok, WhatsApp, and taking pictures to share with family and friends. For those things, the performance difference is very tiny. It's like you're paying for 10% of the power that 80% of users will never get close to using. So it's more like buying a Ferrari just to sit in traffic. So let's say you're looking for maximum value for your pocket in 2026. Here are the phones that feel way too good for their price point. For the everyday hustler, you could look at the Samsung A17, A27, and also the A57, because Samsung has really mastered the budget game when it comes to their new line of devices. This series gives you a solid screen, a reliable camera for daily shots, and a battery that will probably last you all day. Let's be honest, it's consistent, it gets software updates, and it just works. So for most people, this is all you need for your daily living. For the gamers on a budget, forget expensive phone, because the Tecno Pova series and the Infinix GT series are built specifically just for you. These phones pack big batteries, a screen with a very good high refresh rate, and also a processor that is surprisingly good enough to handle games like Free Fire or Call of Duty Mobile effortlessly without even breaking a sweat. If your focus is just to take great pictures and videos for social media, then the Tecno Camon 40 series is a great contender for your pocket. Tecno has been pouring a lot of money into its camera tech, and it shows, because for a camera at its price point, it captures a massive amount of details, proving to you that you don't need the best and the most expensive phone to capture every moment and every content you need to. And for those who need a phone that just works, the Itel S25 series is the best bet for you, because it packs a very decent battery on a smooth processor and a screen that feels quality for its price point. And this phone keeps you connected and going without any extra hassles on the smartphone world. The thing is, tech is moving incredibly fast. So great technologies are becoming very affordable by the day for everyone. And for the vast majority of us, buying a brand new smartphone in 2026 is a necessary expense we need to make. You actually have incredible options that deliver phenomenal performances and experience at an affordable price that doesn't empty your bank account. You see, that's extra money you can use on other tech that will improve your life. So don't fall for the marketing hype. Buy smart, buy what you need, and let your pocket breathe. Which of these devices actually caught your eye? If you enjoyed this video so far, then you might also want to check out this one I did about which phone you should actually buy this year. And if you do like this video, subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for more tech truths, Charlie. See you in the next one. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto the Macworld conference stage and unveiled a device that basically rewired human behavior to date. At that moment, nobody in that room fully understood what was happening, and some even went ahead to mock it. But that single announcement kick-started a revolution that went ahead to shape how we talk, work, communicate, create, and even live our lives today. And that moment was the of the iPhone. Since then, we've watched iPhones come and go. Some changed the world and some, they didn't. You know what? Let's go through the history of the iPhone. The original iPhone and the iPhone 3G were legendary. They weren't perfect, but they redefined the modern smartphone and kickstarted the industry we know today. The iPhone 3GS and the iPhone 4 cemented that legacy. Because it didn't even meet Apple's own expectations when it comes to sales numbers. And yep, I know a lot of people argue this phone sold tens of millions of copies. Yes, that's true, but let's also remember it also came in a plastic shell, not the regular aluminum or titanium body Apple uses for these devices, which is quite disappointing. The plastic finish, that's the plastic shell it came in, made this phone feel a little bit less premium. So it didn't have the original Apple kind of feeling every Apple iPhone has ever had. So let's give this phone an overrated tier, because it truly was, Charlie. But everything took a different turn when it got to the iPhone 5S, because this phone actually introduced the iconic Touch ID
and also went ahead to introduce the 64-bit processor, which laid the foundation for the Apple ecosystem for years to come. And then we have the iPhone 6, and this is where things really get heated because these devices sold like crazy and redesigned, which also went controversial because it introduced the Ben Gates kind of propaganda that came on, because these phones had the ability to behave like Avatar. They could bend, and Apple themselves knew these phones could actually do that. In fact, Apple's own court document proved that the iPhone 6 was 3.3 times more likely to bend compared to the iPhone 5S, but it still went ahead to drop it anyway. Interestingly, it was in that same proceeding that it was discovered that the iPhone 6 Plus, which was released along the 6, was a staggering 7.2 times more likely to bend compared to the iPhone 5S. And for that reason, let's rank this phone as a cooked phone, because who would want a phone that could actually... With all the lessons learned from the flops of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, Apple went on a hard course correction with the iPhone 6s, where they used a stronger aluminum body and also 3D touch to make this device get a solid tier rank on this list. Next up on the list is this phone, the iPhone 7. This phone actually gave us water resistance and a much better camera, but it also came with a trade-off, and that was it killed the headphone jack. But the real star of this lineup, which personally for me is my best and the most legendary iPhone, is the iPhone 7, because this phone brought Apple's first ever dual camera setup on a device. The interesting part is it later went on to enable portrait compatibility with just a software update. So with just that alone being said, this makes this phone a game changer in Apple's legacy. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were fine, adding wireless charging because of the back glass they brought along. But these phones also felt like a rerun of an older model, which was the iPhone 7, and even the is legendary. That same lineup of devices went ahead to give us the iPhone XS, which was a nice refinement. And the legend in that category, the biggest legend in that category actually is the iPhone XR, which is one of the most hated and the most loved iPhones at the same time, because it brought every feature of the new generation iPhone into a lower price tier for us. So that is a legendary lineup. The iPhone 11 series was an easy game changer. It had a very massive battery jump and also finally added night mode, which would say put Apple's camera system on par or even ahead of the competition at the time of this phone's release. With that being said, I'll say the standard iPhone 11 is one of the greatest iPhones ever made, if not the greatest. But I can't say the same for the iPhone 12 though, because this phone is simply overrated. Yes, the flat end design of the iPhone 12 was very sleek and beautiful, no competition. But the thing is, the battery life, however, was noticeably poor compared to the battery life of the iPhone 11, and that is why this phone is just overrated. The iPhone 13, however, went on to face all the problems of the iPhone 12 series and stepped up the game when it comes to battery life, because this phone packed an insane amount of battery, and it also went ahead to give us the 120Hz ProMotion display that everyone was waiting for from Apple. Honestly, I would say the iPhone 13 is one iPhone that felt like it had no compromises, and this explains why it's the most popular iPhone unit on the market right now. So let's just say this phone is legendary. The iPhone 14 Pro was a game changer for one simple reason: the dynamic island. You see, Apple took a design compromise and turned it into a very useful feature. At first, people called this feature an overhyped feature, because why should a company be hyping the notch that they've created on their own phone? But over time, the usership of this particular feature has grown, and the dynamic island has become one of Apple's most requested features in their new flagship that don't have dynamic island, especially the new iPhone SE series, which Apple calls 16E and 17E, which still came with a notch. The standard iPhone 14, however, will get only a solid rating because this device looked very identical to the iPhone 13 and nothing really changed in the device, other than the iPhone 14 Pro itself getting the dynamic island. So yep, that's it for that. The iPhone 15 series will get just a plain solid rating because the only
upgrade on this device from the 14 was the USB-C charging, which wasn't an Apple innovation of a thing because USB-C on iPhones was a policy by the EU. And also, USB-C had been around for years before Apple finally decided to bring it onto their device to market it as if it was a revolutionary thing they've done. So let's just leave it at that. And that brings us to the new phones. The iPhone 16 Pro stepped things up with an improved 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera, an A19 Pro chip in it, making processing power very efficient, and also it brought a 5x telephoto zoom to both Pro models and came along with Wi-Fi 7, so this isn't a bad phone. Let's give it a solid rating. But the real shakeup came with the iPhone 17 lineup. Apple finally decided to replace the Plus models with the ultra-thin iPhone 17 Air, which funny enough they also discontinued a few months after announcing the device and releasing it onto the market. More importantly, the standard iPhone 17 got the 120Hz ProMotion display, which Apple previously only reserved for Pro models. And with all this being said, on the iPhone 17 and more to be searched, I think this phone is simply a legendary tier because nothing can compare to it. And even to take that further, I think this could be the greatest iPhone Apple has ever made. If we put aside the controversies that came along with the liquid ass thing that happened, but let's wait to see what the 18 has to offer because there are rumors coming out that Apple might bring out a foldable phone finally. And it will be interesting to see what they have in their pockets for us though. So there you have it. From the legendary iPhone X to the cooked iPhone 6 series to the game-changing iPhone 7 Plus. Every iPhone has had its flaws, its highs, and its turning points, and more importantly, every iPhone has its own place cemented in history. And yep, this is my list on every iPhone ever made, and I'm curious to know what your list will be. What do you think is the most overrated, the most underrated, the most cooked, and the best iPhone ever made? Drop that for me in the comment section because I'll be reading and replying to every comment you drop on this video regarding the iPhone rankings. However, if you are thinking of planning or buying any used iPhone anytime soon, you might want to check this video I did about the used iPhone market so you know your way in to be able to buy smart and buy what will serve you right. Go check out that video and see you in the next one. Peace, Charlie. Apple has officially confirmed Tim Cook will be stepping down as CEO of the company after 15 years since he took over from Steve Jobs back in 2011 at a time where nobody even believed he could ever fill those shoes. And the person taking over from him is this guy, John Ternus. If you've watched an Apple keynote in the past few years, then you've probably seen him. Calm voice, clean delivery, standing on stage most of the time introducing a new Mac, iPad, or iPhone. But behind that polished presentation is someone who may shape Apple's future in ways that no one ever alive has done before. For Apple, this is not just a leadership change, but rather choosing the kind of company it wants to be next. You see, for years, Tim Cook has been one of the most underestimated CEOs in modern tech history. When Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, a lot of critics said Apple was finished. Some even said innovation was dead, and some went ahead to say Tim Cook was just an operations guy who was going to run Apple as a company into the ground. But they were proven wrong because under Tim Cook, Apple didn't decline but it rather exploded heavily. Apple went on to become the first company to hit $1 trillion market valuation, then to a 2, a 3, a 4, and now sitting at a whopping $4.5 trillion market cap. And the iPhone remained one of the most dominant consumer products ever created in human history. The Apple Watch became the best-selling watch in the world, whilst the AirPod also went on to become a cultural phenomenon. And Apple's service business turned into a machine that prints billions annually. The thing is, Tim Cook did not just run Apple, but rather he turned it into an empire on its own. But now, he is living at a very interesting time because even though Apple has become more richer than it has ever been, the company has grown to an extent where it's becoming a little more predictable in its products lineup. The iPhone is still huge, but yearly upgrades are beginning to feel lesser. Apple Intelligence, however, entered the AI race later than most people expected, and the Apple Vision Pro.
It is quite impressive, but too expensive and too niche for most people. And for the first time in years, this have led most people to start asking, what's Apple's next big thing? And that question now belongs to the next person, John Thanos. And by this time, I know most people will be asking, who is he? Who is he? Thanos is an engineer who joined Apple in 2001 and has over the years been rising through the hardware side of the company. He played a key role in Apple Silicon, the shift that gave Apple Macs a new life with the M series chips. And he is someone who has played a major role in all the devices of Apple that people actually use and touch. So he is not that much of a new person in the company. And all that really matters because by choosing Thanos, Apple is secretly sending a message, and that is the era of managing growth may be over. And with that being done, the era of now reinventing the product is at hand. But make no mistake, because his job might actually be harder than that of Tim Cook's. Because you see, Cook inherited a company with the iPhone still climbing like a rocket, while Thanos is inheriting a company with tougher consumers, faster competition, AI pressure, global regulations, and a market that at the moment is very difficult to impress. Putting all that together, he now has three major challenges he needs to deal with. First is AI. He needs to make Siri better and Apple Intelligence more than just a late response to market competitors. Second is vision, because he would have to turn spatial computing from an expensive demo into something everyday people will actually want. The third one is identity, because he has to prove Apple can still create the future and not just polish the present. And that last one might actually be the hardest to achieve, because when a company grows to become this successful, their biggest risk is comfort, and that can be seen in safer upgrades, predictable launches, and playing defense. And you see, Apple has mastered the consistency game, and now they need to prove they can still surprise the world. And that is where the story gets interesting. Because this is not just one executive stepping aside, but rather this is a handoff from a CEO that perfected the business model of Apple to a CEO who now has the mandate to protect the soul of the company Apple. History will be kind to Tim Cook, and it should be, because this man took impossible expectations and somehow he managed to exceed them perfectly. But the next 5 years will determine something even bigger. And that is whether Apple still remains the most important tech company on the planet or not. You see, the Tim Cook era made Apple the biggest company ever, but the John Thanos era is set to make Apple feel ahead a game. And honestly, that starts now. If you've watched this video this far, then please consider subscribing and leaving your thoughts in the comment section. See you in the next. People hear Samsung and their brains jump straight to the Galaxy X series. Yes, the X series is Samsung's shiny flagship that goes toe to toe with every iPhone ever made. But the thing is, Samsung is not a one lineup type of brand, because they built an ecosystem of devices for every type of person, every budget, and honestly every level of chaos. Some of these phones are cheap and some are experiments Samsung genuinely wishes we all forgot. And in this video, I'm breaking down every Samsung phone series ever made and why each of them exists in the first place. Let's dive in. Let's start with the Galaxy S series. Back in the days, the S series wasn't trying to be all that flashy as it is today. It was just Samsung's way of saying, and even though the iPhone had the hype, Samsung pulled up with AMOLED screens, customizations and specs that blew a lot of people away and drew a customer base for the Galaxy S series at the days of its early beginnings. Over the years, the S lineup have grown to become the benchmark of the Android industry, with glass builds, curved screens, wireless charging, and high refresh rate screens. And when Samsung dropped the Ultra brand, that really locked things in, because it had a big screen, crazy zoom, massive sensors, and this easily made these phones the new kings of Samsung's non-foldable wearable phones. And honestly, if you truly want a Galaxy experience, it's either you get the Galaxy S series or nothing at all. But before the Ultra stole the scene, we had the Galaxy Note series, and the original Note hit the market with a screen so big people called it a tablet. And later, when Samsung added the stylus and called it the S Pen, everyone laughed at it until they actually tried it. The Note became the phone for power users. Big battery, big screen, big space, big everything. But you see, the Note also had its dark moment. the Note 7 disaster, which was phones catching fire, getting airport bans, and a full global recall. But Samsung somehow survived this, and the Note series was brought back stronger. But the series did not last forever, because later in their lineup, they added the S Pen, which was a stylus, to the Galaxy Ultra series, and it made totally no sense to keep two flagships with identical features. So technically, the Note series did not die because it flopped, but it just got a revival and was upgraded or emerged into the Ultra series. But Samsung didn't always get things right. Let's talk about the abandoned series that quietly vanished, the Galaxy J series. The Galaxy J series was a phone made for pure budget and no nonsense. And these were phones you buy when you don't care about this spec, but you want WhatsApp to just open. And these phones sold like crazy when they were dropped, but Samsung later folded them up into the Galaxy A series just to clean up their brandings and phone lineup. And then there was the Galaxy Mega. This phone was huge for no reason at all. Sometimes you put it to your ear and it felt like someone just put an iPad mini to your ear. And honestly, they just slowly disappeared after lasting 3 generations, and no one was shocked. And I used one though. And then we had the Galaxy Alpha. This one really mattered because this was Samsung's first real attempt at making a phone with a metal premium design. Up to this point, I've used almost every phone on the lineup, but not the Alpha. So if you are lucky enough to have gotten your hands or experience with this device, share that with me in the comment section. I'll be reading every comment. Let's jump to the next one, the Galaxy C series. Yep, the Galaxy C series. You might never have heard of it before. Well, you can go and search on Google. But like, Samsung primarily made these phones for China and the Indian market to battle Xiaomi and other rivals that were rising against them in that market. So these phones just came and went so quickly like the wind, and you might never have heard of it, and Samsung never mentions it outside those core markets. Let's talk about a phone that quietly carries Samsung on its back, the Galaxy A series. These are the phones that people actually buy because not everybody wants to donate their kidney just to get a new device or a piece of metal. That was just by the way. The A series gives you big batteries, good cameras, AMOLED screen, and a modern design without breaking the bank. They hit every price point: A10, A20, A34, A54, A73, and it might feel very chaotic, but it's very simple when you understand it. You see, some of these phones are so good for their price point that they feel like mini flagships. The A series is for everyone, and an extension of it is the M series, which feels like a phone that was made for people who just hate charging their phones, because this phone cares nothing about looking flashy. All it cares about is giving you a very big battery that can last you 2 days on a single charge. And this phone wasn't made for the global market, but for the Indian and South Asian market, and it just works. And honestly, I would love to have my hands on this phone, but since it's not for the global market, if you are lucky enough to have used some, share your experience in the comment section below, and I'll be reading every comment and dropping my thoughts on it too. Moving to the next one, which is the Galaxy F series, a phone almost no one knows about. Just like the Galaxy M series, these phones are India exclusive models made by Samsung, and they are mostly rebranded editions of the Galaxy A and M series. The catch is that these phones are mostly done with partnership or in partnership with some retailers in the Indian or that sub-region of the Asian market to make it feel a little bit more like giving it a local touch to those devices. And now, let's talk about the device that made Samsung the face of futuristic phones, the Galaxy Z series. This is Samsung's foldable department, or should we say foldable family, and it started in 2019 with the original Galaxy Fold. And I kid you not, this phone was a mess. Like, the screen protector wasn't really a protector, the hinges were like, reviewers were breaking this phone left, right, center, and instead of Samsung quitting on this approach of phone design, they rather doubled down on it the next year. Well, come to think of it, maybe Samsung saw something at the time that the industry wasn't seeing, because tell me why you continue developing a product that you were being ridiculed for at the time. And I think it has finally paid off, because there are rumors that Apple might also be joining the lineup and dropping their own foldable series this September. So yep, at that point, I think we have to drop some W's in the chat for Samsung for leading this innovation charge. Back to their lineup though, the Fold series have now evolved into the Galaxy Z Fold and the Galaxy Z Flip. So you know the mechanics of operating the Z Fold and then the Z Flip. Anyways, the Z Fold opens in the book style, which makes it very great for productivity, and you can use it for watching videos or just flexing in public because my phone opens like a book. On the other hand, the Z Flip also opens like the old Motorola flip phones. So it's very funny how times have changed. We are now going back to flipping phones like in the 19s. Like, bro, that's for how our technology has gotten to.
And these phones have really defined an industry which is still growing, and Samsung have really made an impact on this industry, and they are really taking things on another level because the hinges for the flip phones and their folding phones have improved year on year. And we have been hearing rumors of now we finally having creaseless displays in this category of phones. So it's still a win for Samsung. And finally, we have the rugged kid on the block, the Samsung Galaxy X Cover. Yep, you might not have heard of it before, but it's a phone that was made for people who work in harsh conditions, like people who might actually drop and crash their phones, like constructors and people who work in such industries. So this phone was actually made to be strong and endure any situation at all being posed at it. So while Samsung's lineup might feel complicated on the surface, it is simpler when you understand the ideation behind every device ever made and the purpose the device was made to serve. Now that you officially understand Samsung's lineup and why they make these devices, you need to go check out this video ranking every iPhone ever made so you understand Apple's ideology also. And also, please follow my Twitter, my TikTok, and my Instagram page. See you in the next one. Adios. You see that fridge in your house tagged UK use? I mean, the one your family bought thinking it came straight from England. Yep, that's probably not where it came from, and that is just the beginning of the lie you are being told. Well, today we are exposing the full truth behind the home use and UK use appliance market in West Africa, uncovering where these machines actually come from and how brand new can sometimes be the biggest scam, and 5-step bulletproof methods to safeguard your pockets and save you when buying any of these appliances. Stay tuned because ignorance in this market is a very expensive lesson. Let's dive in. The first thing you need to understand is home use and UK use are just a marketing term and never a shipping label. Most of these appliances are not coming from the UK. Yep, some do, but the larger chunk of them are coming from China and Southeast Asia. Think about this. These countries produce appliances for the entire world, and at any time a new model of these appliances drop, the old ones become obsolete overnight. And think about this further. Where do you think those models are going to end up? Obviously, they get shipped to us here, but you see, they can't call it China use because in West Africa, anything tag made in China sounds cheap. So these businessmen do what makes business sense, and that is they call it UK use. And immediately the same device stands premium, feels reliable, and even feels like someone in London actually took good care of it. Hey, Charlie, marketing is really powerful. You need to accept that the tag is not telling you where the appliance actually came from, but it's just telling you what they want you to feel about the machine. Now here's the part that surprises people the most. You might think, I'll just buy brand new and avoid all this trade. That's valid. But wait, except that most of these brand new appliances are also a trap. Let me explain. Some of these importers bring in entry-level brands that nobody has ever heard of, slap premium prices on them and sell them as original. So you might be getting a fridge that costs 3,000 Ghana cedis, yep, but you'll be spending double the electricity of a 2012 Hisense model. And that is not a bargain. That is a slow robbery. In Europe, every appliance has an energy rating. Class A means efficient and Class G means your ECG bill will be very embarrassing. But here's the catch. Most of the fridges and ACs coming into our market lately not even display these labels. And that's not an accident, because if you saw these labels and ratings, you'll probably walk away. So the thing is, whether you decide to go home use or brand new, if you don't know what to actually check, your money is still at risk either way. Here is something sellers will never tell you because it's never their problem after you leave the shop. And that is, the real cost of a second-hand or home use appliance is not the price look like it just walked out of the showroom with polished handles, a fresh new paint and clean interior, but that compressor has been patched just enough to survive until your warranty expires, and once it dies, the repair bills alone can cost you or can even buy you a new fridge, and that's when you realize you didn't save money, you just delayed your loss. So before you pay a dime for any home use or UK use appliance on this market, you need to run these 5 checks. Let's use a fridge for our case study, and feel free to screenshot if you have to. Number 1 on this list is the compressor test. Plug it in and just listen. A healthy fridge compressor hums quietly in the background, but once it begins to vibrate violently or sound like a diesel generator, walk away because that sound is literally your money burning, bro. Number 2 on this list is the sink check, and here is what to do. Close the fridge door on a piece of paper. Then after that, try to pull out the paper from the door, and if the paper slides out easily, it means the door gasket is definitely weak and cold air is escaping, and with that, your electricity bill is also going with it. Number 3 is to inspect the back. Look at the copper pipes at the back of the fridge, and if it looks messy, shows signs of any recent works or have any wording marks, then it means this fridge might definitely have been locally repaired before you even saw it. Number 4 is actually where it gets interesting because this is the smell test. If you open the fridge and it hits you with a strong chemical scent, fresh paint, or strong perfume, then it means they are definitely hiding something, maybe mold, rust, or gas leak, and your nose is free, so this is where you need to use it. Number 5 is the warranty. Only buy from people with a physical shop and demand a written warranty of at least 3 months. If they won't give you that, then don't commit, because if the seller doesn't trust the machine enough to back it up, why should you trust it with your money? At the end of the day, whether you decide to go home use or brand new, your power is in your knowledge. So don't let a tag make a decision your pocket is going to definitely regret later. If this video helped you, kindly share, because someone you know might probably be about to make this mistake. And hey, drop in the comment section whether you had a good or bad experience with any home use or UK use appliance before. And if you want to know how deep this market goes, I made a video on the secret behind UK use iPhones in West Africa, which will link somewhere here on your screen. So go check it out and subscribe so you don't miss what's